So I knew you as Adam, but you go by Sam now?
Yeah.
Okay, and then your writing name is S.A. Hunt.
Yeah.
Right. And you graduated from Chattooga in what year was that?
1999.
1999. And
Yep.
you came to us from Lyerly, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been writing? And of course, I kind of know the answer to that, but
Oh, pretty much ever since middle school, just as long as I can remember. I haven't really focused on it until about like 2013, and that's when I started writing Whirlwind. Everything else up until then was like more like a hobby, kind of just little pushes and little forays into it. I didn't really get serious with it until 2013.
and I know that you are in some writing groups, like online writing groups, right?
Groups like I've always been a part of are more like they're more about critique and like sharing work with each other and seeing where we need to improve and just putting in you know sending work to each other and workshopping and things like that.
Okay, so like a support group.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. So you would recommend that for somebody who is interested in writing or no?
Yeah, I mean it doesn't hurt. I mean I wouldn't say that it's a absolute necessity, but it's good to have people looking at your work that aren't, family and friends who are just automatically gonna give you positive feedback. You need constructive criticism and somebody that doesn't have a biased eye.
Okay. Tell us about the book deal.
Um, yeah, I don't even have words for it. Like it's just it feels like it's happening to somebody else.
I can imagine.
They picked up my second series, Tor Books, out of New York City. They picked up my second series, Malice Domestica. The first book I had previously self-published on Amazon, and then they saw the sales numbers and the fan base, and the enthusiasm for that, and they picked that up. And the second and third book, what they did was they cut the first book in half, and they're going to make the first two books in the series out of it. And then I had written what is now the third book, which was the second book. I wrote that one, so that one's finished. We just need to edit that one, and so they've got the three-book deal for those three books. And then I've got a fourth one that I'm writing right now.
Can you tell us a little bit about the book? Kind of a book here.
Um, Mouse Domestica is about this girl. She travels the U.S. living out of a van, and she fights witches looking for the ones that murdered her mother when she was a teenager. And she films all the fights from YouTube, and she puts it up on the internet. And she does it making it look like it's like a fictional series, but it's all real.
Is this the kind of success that you were looking for when you were writing? I mean, obviously it doesn't hurt, but is there more that you want to do? Or I mean, where would you say being a literary success would be or would look like?
Well, Stephen King, he described literary success as being able to pay the power bill and have the check not bounce.
Right?
And I've paid power bills with it, so I mean, I guess I've seen a qualifying amount of success.
Right.
I think at this stage, success for me would be earning back the advance that I got paid from Tor for Malice Domestica. That kind of hitting that kind of finish line by earning back those royalties, that advance. It would validate the trust and belief that Tor Books and my editor and my agent had in me when they all picked me up.
Do you use Story Map? do you map out in your mind what the story, where it's going to go, or do you just kind of let it take you where it's going to go?
And I follow the characters where they go and where they take it and how they react to the events and other characters in the story.
So kind of like a general idea, but then you just kind of craft it.
Yeah, they call it the method that I kind of use is something called tent poling, where I call it hiking from mountain to mountain, where I've got goals. I set goals to where I want the story to go, you know, specific story arcs. I don't map out I don't micromanage it, but I'll set a point in the distance and I'll start, just telling story until I get there.
How many other, like, are these two series the only two that you have, or are there others on your horizon, or do you have other stuff that you haven't finished, or it's not ready for publication, or?
I've got all kinds of unpublished and half finished books. I would say about 10 or 11. I've started several things since high school. I've got a couple of space operas, a choose your own adventure fantasy romance, a small town horror novel, and a magical children fantasy novel, kind of like Harry Potter, but it's set during the London Blitz.
I'm going to ask this question, although even in high school you were already interested in science fiction. But is that where your heart lies? Science fiction?
Well, I don't just do science fiction. I like to try to mash a bunch of stuff together, just, horror, fantasy, science fiction, just a whole big mix. I like doing a lot of research. It's another form of, procrastination, or it can be if you let it. Um, I love to look up stuff like technical details. That's most of what my research is. The care and feeding of pack animals and how antique firearms work, and historical government procedures and sword fighting techniques, and the kind of fashion that the people in the world that I'm writing would be wearing, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Everything else I like to try to make up on the fly. As I'm writing, I think what would be cool to see in the scene, or for to show up in the scene. I write it in to see how the characters react to it, and if I enjoy writing it and if I enjoy seeing what the characters do in reaction to these new elements, then I usually keep it in. I think if I enjoy writing it, the reader will enjoy reading it. That's one of the core things that I try to follow as I'm writing something. I try to, keep that in mind. Do I enjoy it? Because there'll probably be somebody out there that enjoys it if I enjoy making it.
Favorite authors that you like?
I have to say mostly, Stephen King. Got to go with a classic. Dean Koontz, David Wong. He wrote John Dies at the End. That series is really good. That was actually one of the big inspirations for my first book. And Josh Malerman, he wrote Bird Box, which is, I think they're making a Netflix movie of that pretty soon. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you just do not know how much I appreciate this. This is just great. I've been talking you up all week, with my students especially, so they're excited to see this as well. So, but I just thank you, thank you, thank you. And